The brain within its groove runs evenly and true, but let a splinter swerve. 'Twere easier for you to put a current back when floods have slit the hills and scooped a turnpike for themselves and trodden out the mills.
Thank you, Meredith. Dan, where do you want to start? You've thought a lot about this poem. Say anything at all, please, about it. Is this brain familiar to you? Is this the way your brain works?
No, but it's an aspiration.
Why?
It always seemed to me that everyone, come on, else's brain ran evenly and true, but it also seems limiting. You have to stay in the groove, which sounds manufactured.
Yes.
Since it can have splinters, and there is an elision there. She doesn't mean the splinter swerves. She means the brain is made to swerve by this tiny thing. And that's something I know very well, but never expected to read in a poem, let alone a beautiful one.
So you...
But I take from it that when she tastes a liquor never brewed, she gets really, really drunk. No mention of calming down again in this poem.
You're seeing an advantage to not running evenly and truly. You're seeing an advantage.
It's not an advantage to, let me start over. It's an advantage to have the brain run evenly and true. Come on. There's a B, so is there another part to this? Dan? But it's not an advantage to, come on. It's not an advantage to depend on that, let alone to build a mill that will process stuff and be washed away because of a splinter.
Do you see for yourself any power that can be derived from the swerve away from running evenly and true for yourself?
Sure. Okay. And what is that power? Yes, I know about Parmesan cheese. But what a disaster if my brain alters the landscape and shuts everyone else down.
But Dan, maybe we should build a different kind of mill?
That's what I try to do for myself. Because I want to sit at that table with you, which isn't going to work out if I eat the tablecloth.
Wow, Dan.
Serious problem, despite the humor. People's tolerance for aberrant behavior is very limited, and I'm afraid I am no better at tolerating aberrant behavior than anyone else.
But Dan, if we do build a new mill, a mill that, to mix the metaphor, has you at the table,
that would be great. But the flood of my the flood of my brain has to flow sometimes through it and sometimes around it, and someone other than me has to operate the spillway.
wow. Dan, for you, does reading and talking about a metapoem that's about the brain stimulate the flooding of your brain more than if we didn't talk about it? In other words, does the metapoetry cause more flooding and more quote-unquote aberrant behavior?
Much more. But the saving grace is the beauty of the language. People who come on. People who want to make art that's free of beauty don't realize it's regulating power.
Dan, why? One more question about this poem. Why do you think so many people in Modpo identify with it, long for the brain that floods, that gets out of the groove? Why do so many people think they want to think this way?
It's probably because... Yes, I'm right here. I'm right here, and someday there will be cheese.
Something.
Now, at the moment, there is a sentence, however.
10, 9.
Yes, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
10, 10. 10.
When you're done processing, you can tell us what you think. The splinter is the key, I think. When people's brains jump the groove, other people line up to tell them they are overreacting. So I think people find themselves in the poem and want to be free from WO. Got a W and I've got an O.
Popcorn.
Yes, popcorn and parmesan. They both begin with P. But this is a W and then an O.
Parmesan.
That's right. Come on. Come on. I tell you what, I'll get you some popcorn after this section. People don't want to work so hard to stay in the groove. And yet, that's what most people do most of the time.
Lovely. Thank you for that close reading.
The turnpike is cool too. It's a way of getting places that's much richer and wider than a groove.
One last question on this, Dan. Creative disruption, is that the word? Phrase? Creative destruction, creative disruption. That's a thing that people talk about. The MOOC phenomenon enabled creative disruption. That's what this poem's about. Do you have any resentment toward people who throw that word around, that phrase around, to describe what they're doing?
MOOCs, come on, remind everyone of education when they wanted to be thinking about certification. I worked
Pumpkin.
so hard to get the ModPo completion certificate, even though it gave no credit and cost no money, and
Pumpkin.
I thought wrongly, as this afternoon shows, that it would open no doors for me. But I wanted that certificate because it meant that I had completed something not adapted for my special needs.
Yeah.
Be careful. Come in. Come on. When you edit this video, not to cut out all my pauses. It would be better to get an artist to draw animations during them,
Great idea.
since that's when I do the processing.
Mm.